ISCA after I'd been in the service for a long time. I'd been in iRacing for well over a decade and spent most of my time in NASCAR series, a lot of fixed racing for the most part, and really just got to a point in my iRacing career where I really wanted to get involved in open setup racing versus fixed, partially because I was just looking for a little higher level of competition, maybe a little cleaner driving and maybe get away from some of the challenges that go along with fixed racing on the service. And it took me a while as I was really searching out leagues because I kind of had a very specific thing I was looking for. A, I wanted to be an established league. B, I just really wanted clean, quality drivers to be racing around. And once I found the ISCA, I found out really quick that it was going to check all those boxes, and I've been with the ISCA ever since. I think the things I like the most about the ISCA is it's a developmental league, but it's also a league that's got some veteran drivers. And I think really what I was looking to do was try to surround myself with some people to better my talent, my skill, and my craft. And that's one thing the ISCA has really delivered. It's got great quality drivers. You learn how to race in close quarters around some of these other people. And I think the other thing, when you do look at the developmental side, once I joined the ISCA, my I rating has soared, my safety rating is better than it's ever been. And it's also really great to see drivers that join our league, really excel over time, some of which stay with the league and some that maybe move on to some bigger things, which is really exciting. We have a great history of developing drivers. We have a great alumni list. But I just really enjoy, participating in the league and just continue to get better each week that goes by. Yeah, the competition in the ISCA is awesome. I think a lot of us talk about it, each week of just how blessed we are to have such a high level of driving capabilities and just a quality group of drivers overall. And I think that's just still, I think the thing I like the most about the ISCA. You build a lot of friendships, a lot of camaraderie. We're really competitive on Thursday and Saturday nights, but it's really fun also after the race to kind of review the race start to finish. And we do a lot of coaching about what's working, what's not working. Not saying we give away all of our secrets, but I think anyone that joins it, there's a common theme. They get better each week, their I rating goes up. We see them in strength of field races over time, week in, week out. And that's just something that's really fun. Even though we compete, we really appreciate the league we participate in. And I think in most cases, we're highly competitive with some of the best and cleanest drivers on the service. And if you like long green flag runs, we don't have a lot of cautions in our races. We tend to have green flag pit stops. But those are just some things that I really enjoy about the league the most, is the quality of the competition, the lack of cautions, and just the long runs that really leads to some really awesome racing. Yeah, I think people that should join the ISCA are people like myself. When I go back a few years ago and I was really looking to up my game and get involved in open setup league racing, for so long I just wasn't involved in that because I just didn't, I didn't seek it out, but I really didn't also know how to get started. And once I started doing research, it was a really easy choice that the ICA was a place I really wanted to be and get involved with. And all those things I talked about earlier have happened to me, from improving I rating, improving my skill. And, I'm someone that I really enjoy the ICA. I'll probably stay there, but don't think that, if you're coming to the ICA, that it's something long-term. That in some cases you can find a long-term home like a lot of us, but we develop drivers, and ultimately we'd like to see our drivers participate for a period of time and hopefully move their way up the ranks, whether that be into Road to Pro or Contender Series, or hopefully get to the Coke Series. That's really the goal of what we want to be, is an established league with great drivers, but also a league that's going to develop drivers into bigger and better things.
Hello and welcome everyone to the ISCA Thursday Night Cup Series, and this is going to be an exciting one as we're going to be tackling Daytona International Speedway, a 2.5 mile racetrack that is, of course, one of the craziest racetracks on the NASCAR circuit. And what a race to start off the Super Cup series or season, I should say, as well. We have a lot of drivers showing up in here in this first race. Of course, my name is Brian Britt, and I'm joining the booth by Big Al. How you doing, Big Al?
Hey, doing outstanding, Brian. Thank you very much, and excited to be here for the kickoff of the Super Cup Series, like you said. And what better place to do that than the world center of racing here in sunny, beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida, at Daytona International Speedway. Man, got a great one in line here. Tell us a little bit about what we can look forward to.
Well, of course, we have 313 miles here today, so it's going to be a long one for sure for these drivers. We're going to be very wore out by the end of it. 125 laps on the docket, stages 25 and 55. Of course, the fuel window is 45 laps, so that will not be really a factor in those first couple stages. 5 sets of tires, 4 down in the pits. Now, of course, tires don't really make that much of a difference here, but if you spend a lot of time fueling up the race car, you might as well take them. What do you think, Big Al?
Yeah, absolutely. We say that all the time, because 4 tires is equal to about a full tank of gas. But some drivers going to elect to stay out probably a little bit later. We're just going to have to see how it plays out. But I think it's going to be exciting nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. As we see, qualifying, of course, is underway at the moment, and a lot of new drivers out there. Tommy Amos, I do believe. I do believe Blair Holloman, I do believe. So a lot of different guys. Josh Daniels. I mean, these are a whole different look to what we usually have in these ISCA races. So glad to have the ISCA marketing team out there trying to find new drivers and recruiting. And you even saw that thing we kind of showed right before we began the live portion where we're actually talking as we showed Josh Schaffner's little testimonial there, and definitely love to see that. All these guys really pulling their weight and trying to, really recruit and get more guys into here because, I mean, the competition here is always awesome, and they want to share that with everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Top tier racing with some of the best, cleanest racing that you're going to get anywhere in the sim. So if you're already in the sim, man, this is definitely the place that you want to be. If you're not in the sim, it definitely gives you a level to aspire to achieve to. Not
Accidentally put up the results there, ladies and gentlemen. But here are the actual Cup Series standings. Of course, we are entering the Super Cup season, so there are no points for that as of yet. But Matt DeCiani in the Cup Series standings is at the top of the board with 414 points, but he's not going to be here tonight because of the start of Road to Pro. Same could be said for Derek Heitman, who's in second place in the points. So Josh Schaffner going to definitely find a lot of points here tonight. If he's able to do well here, he could end up jumping up maybe into second position and maybe eventually get up there to the lead spot. Kenny Powell, of course, is in the fourth position in the points. Don Avery, fifth. Greg Wychynski, sixth. Randy Mullins in seventh. Mark Sanchez is eighth. Darren Mullins, ninth. And 10th, Greg Carr, of course, a new addition here to the series. So going to be interesting to see how these points start to change. And, of course, like I said, the Super Cup Series points are yet to be – we don't know what it's going to be. This is going to be the race that is really going to be the step off for a lot of these drivers for that long season, because the Super Cup season, of course, follows the whole NASCAR schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. It mirrors that schedule all the way, and that's the long haul. I think that's what a lot of these new guys are gonna look forward to competing in and winning, because that is the most prestigious of them all, in my personal opinion, Brian.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely very prestigious to be able to win a race here on the ISCA. They come few and far between. I tell you, you don't luck into wins here most of the time. You have to earn them because the talent pool is just so strong. And I hope to see these guys all kind of rise to that occasion. This is definitely, like I said, the best stepping off point you could want is Daytona. You have a chance to win here, but it does take a lot of skill. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But let's go ahead and take that step away, play our national anthem, and we'll get ready for our starting grid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? For so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular upon her singing yeah, through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the
And now, race fans, for the most famous words in motorsports.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Track and dope turned me to a superhero.
You gotta get down to Hooters, have a drink, catch the game, get yourself some awesome wings. It's the place to do your thing. You gotta get down to Hooters. Here she comes, a girl next door, hanging with good friends and more. Come on, what you waiting for? You gotta get down to Hooters. So get on up and get on down to Hooters.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel comfortable, bro. We get a hug. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We have the grid set for this evening's action. Joshua Daniels, in his first start here in the ISCA, is going to claim a pole. Great job to him. Really fast lap, 49.876. Chris Johnson, of course, going to be starting on the outside pole. Third place going to be a new driver as well, Scott Naslund. Fourth place going to be Brandon Pasalacqua. Fifth place, another new driver, Tommy Amos. And in sixth place, old familiar favorite, Mark Sanchez. Seventh place going to be Corey Saucier in the 3-car there. And, of course, eighth place, Josh Schaffner. Ninth's going to be Kenny Powell with Darren Mullins rounding out the top 10.
Al Kaslowski is going to be in 11th with Greg Carr in 12th. Blair Holloman, 13th with J.C. Evans in 14th. Dave Fuge Jr. in 15th. Alexander Carr, 16th. Brian Johnson in 18th with Shane Parrish in 19th. And Greg Wachinski rounds out the top 20.
Of course, Paul Olson's going to be starting in 21st. 22nd is going to be Ryan Strunk with Robert Matthews in 23rd. And that rounds out our 23-car field. So definitely a great number here tonight, Big Al, wouldn't you say? I mean, this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be great with 23 cars in the ISCA at Daytona for the inaugural Super Cup Series. I think, what else could you ask for? The only thing I think we're missing is my little buddy Don Avery. Shout out to you, Don, wherever you may be. Also want to give a shout out to Robert Pattengill. Hadn't seen him in a long time. Those guys are watching. Man, would love to have you guys back out here. But, yeah, one to go here. Pace cars are going to be getting us off. Looking at those track temps, Brian, ambient air temperature is going to be 85 degrees. So it looks like that track temp's going to be hovering about 101 degrees with the winds out of the southeast at 12 miles an hour. It's going to set us under partly cloudy skies. Additionally to note, it's going to have us at about 157 in sim in the afternoon. So that's going to put us right there in those peak summertime conditions, I guess you'd say. Early spring here in Daytona, right?
Yeah, the track's actually quite hot. I mean, you talk about 101 track temp and that wind. I think that wind is going to be really concerning because we've seen these the aero on these cars, I should say, be very sensitive, wouldn't you say, Big Al? I mean, you see it whips the air around a whole lot more than you see in the trucks in the Xfinity.
Yeah, the dirty air with these cars is definitely the two don't go well together. These cars, they kind of wiggle. They wiggle a lot. You know, sometimes you get the big wiggles, sometimes you get the little wiggles. Another thing we want to talk about is pushing the pusher, because I think that's something we might actually see going on here tonight. So that's also going to be awesome. But just want to let everybody at home know that you're not just seeing a typo, but there is a 3 Goodwrench car. And the car behind that car is also sporting the 3 skin. But
Yeah,
I
do believe the 3 is the Goodwrench car is actually Tommy Amos, but the actual 3, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Saucier, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, good to know then. That way I won't mess that up.
Well, I'm sure we will both mess it up at some point. This is a long race, Big Al. There's a lot that can happen here as the pace car gets ready to take that left turn down pit road, and we get to kick off the Super Cup season here. Man, I'm excited. I mean, I look forward to the Daytona 500, but I'm telling you, I might have been looking forward to this one a little bit more, Big Al, as the pace car does take that left turn. Of course, this is not Talladega. These guys are going to immediately get the green flag. Joshua Daniels, of course, with the field in hands, double file all the way through the field. Let's see how long this lasts.
Definitely going to be a race getting to turn 1. Drivers will be trying to figure out what their position is going to be. What's going to be unique here, Brian, is, you know, you still got to race, because that's the advantage you get in stage racing. It does matter where you place yourself now. Top line trying to get itself organized. Bottom line on the go, though.
Yeah, we saw Chris Johnson, of course. He started on the outside pole and was able to get such a good push and was able to move his way up into the lead. You know, dropped down right in front of Josh Daniels. Brandon Pasalacqua, of course, leading that top line. He's got Mark Sanchez right there behind him. Scott Naslin, of course, sits in third. That's where I do believe he started at. Great job for these new drivers, and this is a great time to get used to all the other drivers around you. You know, all the guys that are what you would consider the old guard here in the ISCA.
Yeah, 100%. But, you know, times they are changing. So we got a new leader right now, Chris Johnson. He is showing the way. Bottom line, definitely organized and good to go at this point. That top line, though, still trying to get organized so they can get a run. Just not happening right now, Brian.
No, but I think it will happen because we've seen, I know I've watched a bunch of A-Opens, and that top line it was where the strength was. It seemed like if you were able to get hooked up there, of course, it depends on who you're with, but you can make that top line really start to work for you. And I think Brandon Pasalacqua might be just the man to do it. You see the 3 of Chris of Saucier kind of pulls out.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the key. The more drivers they get to actually commit to running that high line, the quicker the Highline is going to get organized. One thing drivers just got to be cognizant of where they're at on the track. This isn't the time in the race where you want to put yourself in one of those situations that's going to cause harm to your car or maybe half the field. So that's what we're kind of looking out for right here.
Yeah, 100%. And do want to talk about a little bit about visibility. I think I'll pick anybody in the field. Big Al, you have any suggestions? We can look through a cockpit and you can kind of see the visibility.
Yeah, let's try with Kenny Powell.
We got Kenny Powell here, and you can see these guys are almost at 200 mile an hour, 190 plus mile an hour through here. But you can look through his cockpit. He can barely see that yellow line at some points on the racetrack, and that can be at a detriment to you. You do not want to go down there. That is lava down there, and it's so easy to do it with the visibility being so poor.
And the thing, too, if you look at what you see out of your screen, you just can't see that whole line of cars that's outside the Kenny's right. That's the biggest thing, too, that he has to be cognizant of. His spotter is going to be in his ear. He's going to let him know that he's got cars that are high. Now, the interesting thing, these guys haven't brought it down to the point where they're going to be trying to side draft yet, Brian. They're really keeping a lot of space between that high line and that bottom line. But I think once that high line does kind of bring it down a little bit, instead of just, taking the jam out of there, I think they'll actually get a little bit more speed.
Yeah, for sure. And I was noticing when we were riding along with Kenny Powell there, his RPMs are really high, 8,900, which is, I think the power band for these race cars is about 82 to 8,600. So I'm surprised that he's so high up in the RPM. So a little bit of a different gear there. I'm wondering if that's going to lead to some temperature issues possibly. I don't think so, though, because I know Kenny's been racing a whole lot this week, and I think he's got that car right in prime position. Or condition, I should say. Look at that, Al Kozlowski through the middle.
Gonna go ahead and make his move there, trying to get on the high side. I think he just got a little bit of a run, Brian, and couldn't actually check it up. Because one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to let out the throttle and lose that momentum. So I think he just kind of got to the high side there, going to try to make those guys go with him. But looks like Saucier is going to come down to the inside and going to be a check Raj kind of.
Yeah, I think he just did not want to follow Al Kozlowski. But yeah, definitely taking those runs. And one thing about it that I've noticed a lot in this A Open here is you run a lot in half throttle, 3/4 throttle, Big Al, especially when you're in the draft. Like, it's so hard to have that pedal mashed down because you'll get such huge runs. So a lot of these guys are at a little bit more of a cautious pace. They're not really going to be pushing and beating on each other because, it's very easy to spin someone.
I tell you what, though, we've seen this happen already earlier on, but Joshua Daniels and Chris Johnson kind of got it working together where they're in a two-car tandem and actually able to put a little bit of distance between themselves and the rest of the field. So these other guys are going to have to start to figure out what works now. And I think this car does work pretty good with twosomes, but it also works good with threesomes. These guys are going to have to kind of experiment a little bit, though, to see which one's actually going to be the faster for them to get by. Kozlowski actually trying to get a little side drafting going. That's something he's the first driver that we've actually seen kind of push the middle like that to kind of take the air out there. But, I mean, hey, a lot of racing to go here as we are coming up on lap 8 at the line.
Yeah, he's definitely leaving a lot of room down there to that, up there to the wall, I should say. He's getting really close to the guys on the bottom line, and that's going to give him a lot of runs. But I think it's too early to really be doing that. I mean, we talked about this before. You mentioned it. These cars wiggle in that dirty air, and when you're side by side with someone and not giving them a whole lot of room, that wiggle could end up in a crash.
Yeah, little faith. It's going to be all right, Brian. I mean, if these guys crash, they'll just dust it off.
Oh, I mean, heck, if they crash, that just gives us more to talk about up here. Of course, it'll break their hearts down there on the racetrack, though, right?
Indeed, man. Green flag racing continues here so far. I mean, thus far, has it kind of met your expectations? Has it exceeded them, or has it really not met them yet?
I'd say it's been exceeding my expectations. It exceeded my expectations when Al made that move through the middle there, and also when Chris Johnson was able to take the lead. It's exceeded my expectations also with a new driver that started on the pole. I mean, I can't ask for a better race than that.
Now, did he actually get credit for leading a lap, though?
I do not believe he did. I do not believe he did.
Chris Johnson hogging the spotlight here. But that's going to be interesting to see how that's going to shake out. once you get to be about lap 23 or 25 here, because I think that's going to be about go time as Mark Sanchez is going to be pushing up onto the back of Brandon Pasalacqua. That top line is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit. Never really got organized. I don't think it really had a chance just yet. Drivers just wanting to kind of hang out or just stay down low. Nobody really wanting to poke the bear, if you will. And that's kind of causing it to really be like a Sunday drive on the 75 through Atlanta.
Yeah, I think the top line is definitely losing a lot of numbers right now. As even Al Kozlowski drops down, but then he goes right back to the top. He just can't decide what he wants to do.
Yeah,
But
Sanchez got really squirrely there. He actually almost went up and made contact with the wall. Had to come back down and kind of get in line. But I mean, that just goes to show you just, you know, the challenge of handling these cars actually can have.
Oh yeah, for sure. What a job for the 10 of Holloman there. He's been doing a great job on the bottom there. He's side by side right now with Al Kozlowski. Of course, Brandon Pasalacqua has been giving some awesome pushes there to the back of the 88 Speedway's Angels machine. But it looks like everybody's kind of just in chill mode, and I think that's the best call. I don't think anybody needs to be racing hard right now. It's not that time. I think 5 to go in the stage. That's when I would turn it up.
Do you find it odd though that the 88 and the 24 hadn't tried to get back together? You know, maybe in the same line at least, as the 9's now going to be shoving the back of the 88. You can go ahead
I do find that a little odd. Yeah, I mean, because this is the race that you would want to use your team as much as you possibly can. This is I would want to stay behind my teammate, push him along, but I think Al might have a little bit of a different plan in mind. But yeah, I think that this is the time in these stages you use to try to get to your team. Find a way to get together, you know, and it doesn't seem like a lot of drivers are really doing that. I mean, they're not finding their dance partners quite yet.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, it kind of works for us because it's a talking point. But, yeah, it is a little odd that drivers haven't kind of gone out of their way to kind of get with, you know, those that they know, if you will. A lot of new faces, and so this makes a completely different run here for us here. But one thing that we do see, even though he's running a different number, Senior Chris Johnson, definitely up to his old tricks here.
Yeah, for sure. He took a clear advantage on that restart when the top line got such a launch, and he was able to take the lead, and you know, he's been setting sail. But I think Josh Daniels is in a really good position right now. I think that he's playing this smart. He's like, yeah, go ahead, lead some laps, man. I'm saving fuel back here. This is something I'm going to have to get used to for later in the last stage where fuel's not really a concern right now. But when it does become a concern, you know, this is the kind of thing I would want to do. I wouldn't want to be in the lead in that final stage, just considering you're going to be the sitting duck in a lot of ways, and you're going to be burning more fuel than everybody else.
Yeah, I think right now, though, Brian, everybody's just kind of just riding along. I think this is the Ride Along program. If we were going to make a movie, this is Ride Along Part 3. You know, nobody's
Ice Cube.
Anything. Yeah, I mean, everybody's just going to chill, if you will.
Wasn't it Ice Cube that's in that movie? I don't know. We're getting on a tangent.
I think so, yeah.
But Chris Johnson has led every single lap so far, 14 on the day right now. Of course, we have 125 laps in this race, so still a long, long, long way to go. But I'll tell you, it's flying by. I'm surprised, you know, that this thing is going by as quick. Of course, Daytona, one of the biggest tracks on the oval schedule. Only track bigger is Talladega, baby.
But to note, you know, we can use a gauge where we're looking at the 24, and he was side by side with the 88, and they were side by side for many laps. But then, just like that, the 24 kind of had got a breakaway, and you see that top line now struggling even more. I'm just wondering, Brian, because you know it's one of those things where at some point, you know, hey, guys are going to start to declare. I've been on the high line for a long time. You know, you're not going to want those guys trying to jump up there, you know, maybe with 3 to go and kind of try to become highline superstars, if you will.
Well, what I'm noticing is kind of interesting. You see Pasalacqua, he's trying to do everything he can to push Al Kozlowski, but he's not able to get really square with the back bumper. And I think Brandon's starting to give up on pushing Al because Al's been really side drafting a lot. And I just don't think any of these guys want any piece of that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some guys starting to migrate back down to the bottom
and you see Keselowski kind of had to kind of, lead-footed a little bit to allow Pasalakwa to catch up to him so he could actually give him a push, because if Keselowski kept running the line that he was running in the pace he was, there was no way that Brandon was going to be able to catch him. So now that he's actually slowed down, I think that high line is actually going to start to get organized, Brian, and I believe it'll just be a matter of time before you see them actually start to make headway with their counterparts on the low line.
Well, I wish I had the John Madden pin right now, because I would definitely circle out Keselowski as being one of the rough spots on the racetrack right now, just considering he goes way lower in these corners than everybody behind him, and that scares me, Big Al, because I feel like every time you see that at a super speedway, usually that ends up in a wreck, because I don't think all the other guys are comfortable going down that low, and it's just, like I said, I would put a big circle there on the 88. I think that could be, if we have a caution here in this stage, that could be where it comes from.
Yeah, these guys are professionals, though, Brian. Letting out your heart be troubled. Just kind of watch what they do and talk about it.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
that was funny right there. I look at what you are.
Oh,
but
comedian Big Al.
And comedy club, chuckle. But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. But I do believe a lot of guys aren't ready to do that yet. And when it comes to side drafting, that's a whole different skill set, man. And do you really want to trust a guy you don't know at 200 miles an hour for that?
Yeah, especially there are some guys that that they don't know out here. But I look at Algo though. I mean, he's making moves on the top. They're getting good runs. I think the top is starting to organize, kind of like you said. We'll have to see how this turns out. I mean, now it's getting close to that time to where you do need to start making those moves, because you talked about it before about how important these points are in these stages. I mean, we've seen it before to where I say it every broadcast. I swear I do, that you can win a stage or win both stages and get more points than the winner of the actual race.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's one of the advantages of stage racing. A lot of people, probably don't like it because it does create a break in the action. But it allows guys to pick up points where they normally wouldn't be able to score points. So that's one thing I do like. Nobody's going to kind of sit back and sandbag when it comes to stage racing. You're going to have to come out and show out at least, one of the three stages, right?
100%. As we see everybody still fairly close together. I don't believe anybody's really lost a draft yet, which is definitely good to see. Do have some guys that are almost about to lose it. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, I actually did some truck racing and some next-gen racing this week, and I noticed that the next-gen is so much harder to suck up to that guy in front of you than it is in the truck. I'll be honest, that's one I kind of have been staying away from the next-gen this week just because of that reason. Like, if you have so much more of a potential to lose the draft in this next-gen.
Yeah, well, that's just unfortunate, too, because, you want the racing to be as competitive as it can be, but yeah, nobody wants to lose the draft.
No, not at all. I mean, I know in the truck you could get about 1.6 seconds behind someone and still be able to draft back up to them, but you can't do that in this next gen. So these guys that are back here, I know they're taking it easy. They're being careful, and that's fine for this stage because they're not going to go a lap down here. But if they do this in this final stage and lose that draft, I don't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah, just a little bit. Tommy Amos has just had a couple of blinks, though, but that 2 or 3 that he's had, that could be a little substantial, especially with, having the draft like we are. But we just have to keep watching that. But look at Keselowski go as the high line now is starting to do his thing with 4 laps left to go in the stage. Keselowski is on a run. High line's going to start to take over. Now, the question is Al going to stay high or is he going to drop down low? Do you dance with the one that brought you or do you find yourself a new do-si-do, Brian?
I'd stay up. I would stay high if I was in Al Keselowski's shoes because, I mean, it's working right now. And this is the time you want it to work. Now, I saw Chris Johnson kind of come up, and he almost looked like he was wanting to block that line.
Yeah. Seemed like he was he had choices and trying to turn them in, but turned it into a decision there.
Yeah, he definitely was thinking about possibly moving up to the top. So now he has that opportunity again to do so. Does he do that? We'll have to wait and see how this kind of works. You see Kenny Powell starting to fall back a little bit here. I think he's trying to build a run. And a lot of guys are going to do that because we're getting closer and closer to the end of this stage. They're going to start to kind of lay back a little bit. That way they can draft up and get a monster run.
Yeah. I don't know if Johnson does try to take the role of the blocker, Keselowski was coming with a huge head of steam, and if he does try to do that, I don't know, he might find himself going sideways instead of on the vertical,
Well, I think that's why he thought better of it. I think that he was just trying to let those guys know that, hey, I could pop up here and do that, kind of scare them, maybe make their line lose a little bit of momentum, and it worked. I mean, he's still in the lead.
But I don't see Keselowski as one that would lift. I mean, if anything, I thought that was just a kind of a show of force, maybe just a little bit of a, hey, heads up, this is what we're capable of. But, I mean, would you jump out in front of Al Keselowski?
No, definitely not.
All right. And Chris Johnson's been around long enough. It's not his first rodeo.
And look at that. We got somebody jumps up in front of Al Keselowski. Kenny Powell almost gets loose off the corner. Did you see that? He was almost sideways. But he is going to be able to keep it pointed in the right direction. G&G. Oh, look at that. Somebody else jumps up in front. The 22 is Scott Naslin.
And I don't know if that was the move for the 22 because you just kind of moving up there. And are you a duck or a decoy at that point? Really just not the place you want to be.
Well, they're trying to get something moving here. Tommy Amos even thinking about moving up to the top. He almost does. He gets a little bit of a bump to the rear end. That was almost an issue.
I think that was a little bit of the dirty air combination as well, though, with that one, Brian.
Yeah, something was going on there. Tommy, it looked like he was getting ready to jump up to the top lane, but did not. As these guys are starting to get a little bit squirrely, I think we could see maybe some wrecking going across the finish line. Here's the 10. I do believe Holloman deciding to move up to the top.
Well, yeah, he's still waiting on that on that high line to get there, but it seems like since our buddy, the 22 of Scott Noslin, has moved up, the high line is all but stalled.
And now we have one lap left here in the stage. If it wasn't crazy before, it's getting ready to get there as Kenny Powell gives him all he can handle to the back end of Scott, trying to get that top line rolling.
So what do you think? I mean, what do you think was going on there? Do you think the 22 just wasn't fast enough as the 10's going to try to block? He's going to find himself in the middle, going to get squeezed like that last little bit of toothpaste.
Well, I think you might be onto something. I mean, you could very well be onto something because, I mean, he jumped out in front of Kenny Powell and was not able to hold the same amount of momentum as those guys were.
Yeah, the bottom line is even kind of coming up to him here. I just don't know if he's got the car to be in the lead. A lot of times it's the order that you put the cars in. I don't know if that was the way you want to lay your cards down. As the caution is out, that signifies the end of the first stage. Chris, D.E. Johnson, your stage 1 winner. Joshua Daniels coming across in P2. Tommy Amos in P3. Corey Saucier in 4. Scott Noslin in 5. Kenny Powell comes across in 6. Dave Fuge Jr., 7th, Al Keselowski in 8th, Brian Johnson in 9th, and Brandon Pasalacqua is going to round out your top 10 point span positions with stage 1 in the books and drivers getting ready to take their stage 1 caution break. We're going to do the same, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with who you talking to, Brian?
I guess stage 1 winner. We'll talk to Chris. He's usually a character. But, yep, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and what a great stage one, went completely green, and Chris Johnson, of course, was able to clinch that win at the end. I think we got him in the booth. Chris, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Brian.
Now, how you feeling? I mean, it seemed like the car was feeling good. I mean, you were able to really take advantage of the top line's, launch at the start of the stage, and you were able to make it ride the whole way. I mean, seems like the car's handling really well for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure who gave me the push at the start. I think it was Scott, but I appreciate him for launching me. But yeah, old Joshua isn't really giving me a hard time for at least that stage. Car handles really good, and hopefully I can bring this forward into a podium finish tonight.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure that's exactly what the goal is here. Of course, you're going to be starting on the high side again. Are you expecting something similar, possibly?
We'll see what happens. I really just want to fall in line and kind of cruise and, just be there towards the end.
No, I definitely hear that. Of course, we definitely appreciate you hopping up here and talking with us. You led every lap so far, except for now. Of course, Josh's going to get some laps under yellow, but definitely been a dominant performance for you. Who can we give a shout-out to before we let you get back to it?
Of course, Southern Spiral Pipe, ISCA, and y'all up in the booth.
All right. Well, Chris, we definitely appreciate you, and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Alrighty, that was Chris Johnson, driver of the 99, was able to win stage number one. Definitely a great performance there from him, Big Al.
Oops,
Alrighty.
sorry about that. I was muted. Absolutely, man. Solid performance for Chris, doing what he needed to do to get it done. Lights off on the pace car. That means we're going to be getting this party started again. And like you said, it'll be interesting to see if Chris is going to have the tenacity in order to get down there early, in order to get in front of the 7. The 7 kind of saw it coming, but I think the story that we're seeing right now is track position. He who leads wins is what I think we're going to end up seeing. So we'll just have to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, I think track position is very important, especially with this next-gen car here at this track. I mean, you definitely have to be in line and make the correct decisions. We'll have to see if Josh is going to, or if Chris Johnson's going to be able to get shot out of a cannon like he did, or is Josh going to be able to get a lot of laps led here? We'll have to wait and see. Green flag is going to be back out in the air.
Yeah.
And it looks like the top line not getting as good of a start there. So the 22 did not get up to the back bumper of Chris Johnson probably like he wanted to. But he still got a chance here. But Josh, I think, is going to lead into turn 1 and 2.
A little bit of a delayed start there, it seems like, from both lines, or just an equal start, I guess we would say. But look at the difference now as Chris Johnson is trying to do what he can to get pulled up. That top line organized really strong. Question is, how long are they going to stay together before they actually just start to settle in, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, on that first lap, the whole top line fell apart, in that earlier stage. So I'm curious definitely to see if they do stick together a little bit. It looks like they're already starting to wane. We'll have to wait and see. But look at the Saucier, first time up in the top 3 here in the ISCA. Love to see that. And that green race car down there. I thought it looked a lot like Josh Schaffner. I asked Josh, I was like, did you get a new paint scheme? He's like, no, that's not me.
Yeah, I think the key thing is going to be here is just, like you said, who is going to risk it. If the high line feels the need to try to make it poke out, they might have a chance, but I don't know. Oh, looks like Chris Johnson getting the boost that he needs from the 22. Question is he going to stay high or is he going to go low?
Well, it looks like he's staying high, and he even has room to get the 22 down, and it looks like the 22 almost gets underneath the 99, but it looks like Chris Johnson is going to retake the lead. Also, another thing here, Ryan Strunk, first time up in the top 10 here tonight, I do believe, as he sits in 6th place at the moment.
Yeah, Ryan Strunk, that's a name that we hadn't heard talk of a whole lot here tonight at all.
Yeah, 100%.
But look at Chris go. Now he's got Scott Noslin, who is actually pushing him along the way. And, I mean, right now these guys are doing everything right.
Yeah, that 22 gave a heck of a push there to the 99. It was very, very impressive to see that. So, I mean, I think these guys are hitting the ground running in the ISCA. I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot of, getting used to from a lot of these drivers. I think they got the memo. They know the program, and they're going to come out here and be fast.
Okay, let's don't go crowning everybody yet. This is a plate race, far from the type of racing that it takes to make you great. But I will say this, kudos to Chris Johnson for actually bringing the 22 along with him.
Yeah, definitely showed a lot of honor, I'd say, for sure, because, I mean, he pushed him to get up there, and they both got clear, and he brought him right there with him. Of course, Josh Daniels is going to be sitting in 3rd now. But top line is all but disintegrated. You see Ryan Strunk is still up there. He's got Al Kozlowski with him. Al Kozlowski has been painted up on that top line. I've never seen him run any other line. It looks like Schaffner in that other machine there, I do believe, trying to draft his way, the 50 I meant, is trying to draft his way up to Al to see if he can't offer some reinforcements. See Mark Sanchez also back there. And Brian Johnson, he's another one that's been working his way forward quite quickly here. He's probably wanting to join his brother in the sunshine. Oh, a little bit of some wiggles going on right now. Definitely scary as you see of course, the wind off of these cars just going everywhere. And it looks like someone's going to get hung out to dry in the middle lane, and he's going to be able to drop down. Trying to figure out who that is. Of course, new names, kind of hard to get used to all these guys here. And Brian Johnson moves up to the top. He's right in front of Brandon Pasalacqua. But Chris Johnson still out in the lead. Of course, this stage will be over on lap 55, going to 56. So we have about 20 laps of some great racing. These guys are definitely not turning down that heat at all. They are bringing it right now. Top line starting to really make some inroads to get up to the top. See the 4 of Brian Johnson, of course, leading that train. He's wanting to come up there and challenge brother Chris. You see Kenny Powell goes up to the top. He's going to try to get with teammate Brian Johnson. And they are getting a monster run. I think Kenny Powell could see that kind of materializing and said, I want to be a part of that. What a race. And looks like we got some more movement. I do believe the 22, Scott Naslin, has moved up to the top. But he's going to try to see if he can't get the lead for himself from Chris Johnson, of course, who he had pushed to the lead just a little while ago. And it looks like they're going to do it side by side for the lead on the front stretch.
Now, we saw the 22 jump up top like that before, Brian, and it just kind of stalled out. So it kind of makes me wonder if that car is maybe better suited to be second in line as a pusher as opposed to being out front as a runner. We'll just have to see how this one plays out.
I don't know. He's showing more speed right now. I mean, I think he just didn't have the right guys maybe behind him. Committed to actually pushing him. I mean, look at Kenny Powell. He's locked on the 22's bumper, and he's going to get clear. The 22 could drop down in front of Chris Johnson, but it looks like he's decided not to. Now, this is one thing that you see a lot in plate racing, to where a guy will get pushed out a little bit further than he probably should be, but it looks like Kenny Powell almost might even get clear to the bottom here.
Just makes you wonder what's the play here, because it's still early on. We are still 20 laps before this stage is actually over. So do you really want to get the top line kind of situated now, or is that just kind of a show of promise that, hey, look, maybe this top line is out here and it could potentially be fast? But here comes Kenny Powell now. He is going to be your race leader here on that bottom run there, Brian.
Yeah, and he's got teammates Brian Johnson and Al Kozlowski right back there behind him as the top line tries to catch back up. Of course, the top line, that is the reason that Kenny Powell was able to even get up into the lead. So that top line is definitely, you could use that as a tool. I think that's not going to be the last we're going to see of that top line making moves.
Yeah, don't forget, man, Al Kozlowski has been a highline bandit the entire race thus far. I mean, this is really the first time we've seen him on the bottom stuff of starts is when we actually called him being in the position that he is currently in.
And Kenny Powell, definitely a known plate race, aficionado. He's really good at these kind of tracks, and he's definitely going to be looking to get a good finish here tonight.
Kozlowski back up high, now going back to his roots, trying to make that high line work. If anybody wants to be the person that's going to be, the executor, I guess, of the top estate, we're going to call that Sir Kozlowski.
Lord Kozlowski of the top of state.
Yeah.
And you got Josh Daniels right there behind him, too. I mean, Daniels has been pretty much a guy that's been running on the bottom all race long, and now has decided he's going to move to the top. See, Ryan Strump, he's now up into 7th place.
And as we continue to watch this, I do believe that's going to be the tale of the story here tonight. Whether Kozlowski getting the bump there that he needs, as we've seen Daniels do just that. Looks like he is trying to get Kozlowski possibly for his first lead of the night.
Yeah, he might be able to get it. I mean, they are getting a monstrous run here. Josh Daniels, of course, like you said, proven pusher. With Chris Johnson a little bit earlier in that first stage. And it looks like they are going to go side by side, at least for second place right now. We'll have to see. They're a little bit wiggly up on the top. Definitely not as stable as they probably would like to be. But I think Al Kozlowski is going to get side by side for the lead here. Look at the run. And they're going to get an even bigger run here on the straightaway.
Going to see how this one plays out, man. Everybody's kind of holding their breath. And the Will Kozlowski going to lead for the first time tonight. Will he get down? He is going to go down. Daniels staying high, going to try to make that high line work. He has got the 22 that's going to keep pushing him all the way around, trying to make that high line relevant again.
Oh, it's definitely very relevant. I mean, even though Al Kozlowski dropped down to the bottom in front of Kenny Powell, the top line did not skip a beat. Momentum did not stop as we looked. I think the 22 is dropped down to the bottom.
What a crossover from the 22 right there.
Yeah, that was a heck of a move from that 22. Just barely had enough room to slide down in front of Al Kozlowski, and he is going to take over the lead. Oh, Al Kozlowski bows up to the top. He says, I do not want to push anyone.
Kozlowski did not want to check up. He did not want to lose momentum that he had. He figured he'd rather get up top and wait on a pusher than actually have to lift, because he's no lift Kozlowski tonight. And, I mean, he's always been no lift Kozlowski, right?
Yeah, he definitely has been. I mean, he's that guy that definitely doesn't lift. But I think that could be a weakness here tonight, in my opinion, because, he could have stayed right there behind the 22 for a little bit longer and just chilled out. Stayed with his teammate, Kenny Powell. But, I mean, he just leaves them. I mean, you see the 24, the 4, and the 99 all in a line. Al Kozlowski could join that foursome there.
But speaking of leaving, though, the 22, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just here to call the race, but I don't think he's the guy that's going to lay his life down for you, whether it's on the high line or the low line. I think he's just going to go what benefits him. And Kozlowski, obviously, maybe he didn't like that. He didn't like that hand. You can't have two takers in the same line. You got to have a giver in one of them.
Yeah, that's for sure. Just doesn't seem like he wants to push. But, I mean, eventually you're going to end up having to do some pushing.
Well, the 22's already pushed. We saw him push
he's
the
a
99.
good pusher, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think the 22 has that strength to where he can go be behind somebody, push them to where they want to be, and then all of a sudden take that spot even from them. So, I mean, it's just really awesome to see that. But look at that. I mean, the top line starting to resurge again here. Al Keselowski not out of it yet as Josh Daniels giving him some good pushes.
Do you think that maybe that's also a derivative of Keselowski kind of not liking, playing with new people?
I mean, it could very well be the case. I mean, I'm not quite sure. Oh, blinking issue there on the bottom line. This is 99 of Chris Johnson. He's been having some of those types of issues, and he has not come back yet. This is a scary situation. He could pop back up anywhere on this racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. Still waiting to see.
He still has not returned.
Smaller and smaller.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back here. And that is unfortunate. Chris Johnson, of course, stage 1 winner, has blinked out. I think he's going to lose a whole lap here.
I haven't seen him disconnect yet. Still watching to see what's going to happen here.
If he doesn't come back soon, he's going to lose a lap. It doesn't matter if he gets disconnected, because if you blink for a whole lap, I've had it happen to me before to where I was in the lead. And
what happened to the 25? Why is he so far off the pace?
That's definitely a good question. I see that he's way back here.
Yep, Chris Johnson, he is currently being shown as, not with the team, I guess we'd say.
Yeah, and also, the big question.
No, that's the 66.
But also, Tommy Amos is 8 laps down. I don't know what happened to him either. Could that have something to do with Greg Carr? It's just so many cars on this racetrack. It's so hard to keep track of what actually happened. I'm sure we'll have that solved at some point, but it did not bring a caution out, whatever did happen. And Greg Carr, I do believe, is still on the lead lap.
Yeah, plus Amos is shown as a 28 car, but he's actually the guy running the Dale Earnhardt scheme. Dale Earnhardt Sr. Goodwrench number 3 car.
And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to. It doesn't look like he's going to be finishing the race. I see him out of the race car. Like I said, 9 laps down right now. Al Keselowski, though, has taken the lead. Top line's led by Brandon Pasalacqua now. 3 wide for a moment here. 64. Oh!
Lot going on here, Brian. 3 wide condition. 1 car to 10 car going to be down below the double yellow. He's going to be trying to hold it together. Still going to be kind of loose. Still 3 wide coming as the 5 is coming up against the 22 in Ryan's truck. They're going to have to put this sandwich together. I don't think we're going to need 2 pieces of bread, though. This is going to get real ugly.
This looks like it could get very ugly. I think we've even seen some guys have some contact with one another here. As Wachinski trying to thread the needle.
And right now, the field is in complete and utter disarray. And just when you didn't think it could get any worse, we've got the 25 car. There's a lap car that's going to be coming up on in the midst of all of this chaos.
Yeah, 100%.
Mark Sanchez now comes back on either his turn below the double yellow. I mean, just sheer pandemonium here, Brian.
Yeah, I think the 29 is going to lose the draft. I think he had some contact with Kenny Powell. I was just getting ready to say, didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, some contact on the racetrack sent him down below the apron. Hopefully him and Paul Olson can link up. Of course, I don't think they're going to go a lap down here. We don't have many laps left here.
6 laps to go before this stage is in the books.
100%.
But the 25 is definitely going to be struggling to try to stay alive here. Chris D. Johnson was officially dropped due to packet loss. Man, how unfortunate for him. Had such a dominant performance through the first stage. Led every single lap.
And here we go. You mentioned it about Greg Carr. He's getting ready to go a lap down, and this is going to be a tricky scenario. Going to be an obstacle for a lot of these drivers. Good thing they're not 3 wide, but still, it's going to be kind of difficult to get by him.
Unless he goes down below the double yellow, which he has every right to maintain his position on the race surface, but he does go below the double yellow, so hey, kudos on him for actually not making it more complicated than it could be. But now, Brian, with us actually having 5 laps to go left in this stage, this is where drivers are just going to, they got to pull their claws out now at this part. The only way you're going to make it to the top 3 here is with talons and fangs. This isn't the time to just kind of be out here just, kissing people like the Pope. You're really going to have to get physical, and you're going to have to come up with a plan.
And we talked about Mark Sanchez kind of getting hit there by having a little issue there with Kenny Powell. He has now lost the draft completely, and it just is a death sentence. If this was the last stage, those guys would definitely be in a unfortunate predicament, as Al Kozlowski does lead us to 5 laps to go now.
Those guys are going to have to get together, create their own pack, man, and just kind of, lick their wounds and get over it. Kozlowski being exactly where he wants to be. This is where he has wanted to be all night. The question is going to be, who is going to be the Pod Piper that's going to try to come out there to that high line and actually recruit to get some high line runners. The field is so spread out, I don't know if we're going to see that or not, Brian. Do you think we'll have a chance for maybe a late stage run?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a run can break out at any moment. For sure, as I want to take a cockpit camera here from Joshua Daniels as he's right on the back of Al Kozlowski. Just shows how good of a pusher this guy is. So smooth on that wheel. He is barely moving it at all, and when he gets to the back bumper of Al Kozlowski, it is just a thing of beauty to just watch this guy pushing around this track.
So the question is, does Daniels have any loyalty whatsoever to Kozlowski?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so does he stay behind this guy and push him to victory here? Or does he kind of lay back and kind of mount a late, lap run forward here coming out of 4?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility for sure. It could definitely be, as we see Shane Paris, of course, is leading that timeline. He's got Kenny Powell right behind him. Those guys are trying to make something happen up there. Of course, haven't seen that 66 in clean air yet here tonight, so we'll have to see how, if he's able to generate any runs with the help of Kenny Powell behind him. But Al Kozlowski definitely in the perfect zone right now. But like I said, I think that Josh Daniels, Brandon Pasolaco, Darren Mullins, I don't think any of these guys are really loyal to Al Kozlowski. I think if they see this run starting to gather on the top, they might try to jump up there too.
I mean, and that's exactly what I was kind of asking you. There's no loyalty to anybody. You got Darren Mullins, who is here quietly sitting in the top 5. He is just right there. There's no reason for him not to jump up to the top to try to take the wind out of the sail. You got Ryan Strunk. He's also kind of an independent. So I think you got a lot of opportunity here, but it's just a matter of who's going to be the leader to get that high line organized.
Well, now we're verging on 1 lap to go here in the stage. Of course, this next time by, the white flag for Stage 2 will be waving. Will Al Kozlowski find himself getting a Stage 2 win? Definitely could be the case, so.
He's not in a position that you want to be in. I'll just say that. Because he's got to be in 3 places at one time. And he's going to spread himself too thin. That's the only problem that he's going to have to worry about. Because he's got to stop to run.
It's definitely going to be very difficult to do that, Big Al, for sure, as everybody's really starting to side draft the bottom. You see the 66 moves down really low. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a caution here to end this stage.
Well, a caution ends every stage, Brian.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. But here we are. The white flag is out for the stage as we see the 66 still trying to make something happen up there. But I don't know. It looks like everybody's playing really nicely right now. Does Daniels do something in 3 and 4 here?
I just think you had the wrong cars at the wrong time. You know what I mean?
You see Strunk. Strunk has moved to the top now.
He's trying to get as much. But the question is going to be, what is Mr. Daniels going to do? Looks like he is going to follow Kozlowski across the line. And Kozlowski is going to be...
Oh, and they're wrecking the 66 with issues. The 22 slides it. Man, that could have been a whole lot worse than it was. I mean, wouldn't that suck to end your race at the end of Stage 2? Goodness.
The big question is going to be, just where they slid through. Because you could actually get a black flag there, and that would actually hurt. Ow. So stage 2 in the books. Looks like it's going to be Al Koslowski, your stage 2 winner, Joshua Daniels in second, Brandon Pasquale third, Darren Mullins in fourth, Alexander Carr fifth, Brian Johnson sixth, J.C. Evans seventh, Ryan Strunk eighth, Kenny Powell ninth, and Greg Wachinski rounds out those top 10 points paying positions. With that caution out, drivers getting ready to take their stage 2 pit stops. We'll go ahead and step away, get another word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Al Koslowski.
Well, hold on a second, Big Al. I'm kind of wanting to look back and see exactly what happened here with the 66. A bad bump from the 24, some contact there. But I just kind of wanted to go over that. But, yeah, let's take a brief step away. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and I do believe Big Al is going to be joined in the booth by our Stage 2 winner, Al Koslowski.
What's up, fella?
Hey, Mr. Koslowski, Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
I got you, brother.
Well, man, we've been watching you, and I'm going to say congratulations first off for your Stage 2 win. Next thing is, looks like you're highline prevalent here tonight. So what's going on with that?
Well, I don't know if you know, I was in an automobile accident this week, and I'm kind of scared of traffic, so I'm trying to stay away from it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that also could, that's never good. Glad that you're okay, though. So are you finding a lot of success running in the high line? And how do you feel about guys that kind of, aren't committed to the high line but kind of show up to the last minute?
I've got some teammates out here, and then I have some individuals that I never envisioned as teammates that are working very well with me, and I appreciate that 100%. Brandon's one, Josh is one. Josh could have easily went around me on that last and took that stage win, but I guess all hats are off right now. As far as running the high line, you got to have teammates or partners, somebody to run with you, and they've got to be just as fast as you are. And I don't know how many of these guys are as fast as I am on this track right now. So I don't know. We're going to see what happens here. I'm going to take it easy. We still have 65 laps left of this thing. Try to make it to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And so green flag pit stops loom in your future. You see yourself taking, tires or just fuel, or you don't want to say?
I'm going to take wipers, windshield wiper blades.
I love it. I love it. Hey, congratulations to you again for your second stage win. Before we let you go, who you shouting out for? You got to get back to work.
I'm going to give a big shout out to my boy, Bernard Pollard, who's probably watching tonight. And I'm trying to do the best I can in the pain I'm in because I've got no feeling in my right foot, which is the one that hits this gas. So I'm amazed that we're doing this well. So thank you guys as well. I hope to be talking to you here in another 60-some laps.
All right. Good luck to you, Big Al, and we'll holler at you here on the flip side.
Thank you, guys.
You're Big Al, Big Al.
I look, the man's beat up. I mean, I got to try to boost him up, make him feel better. He can't even feel his right foot. I mean, come on, have a little sympathy.
Oh, my bad. Well, here we go. Josh Daniels, of course, is going to be getting us leading there once again. How about that? I mean, this is I think the second time he's led us to green.
Yeah, but I don't think this guy's leading us by some fluke or an accident. I think he absolutely knows what he's doing. And he's just kind of showing us that, hey, look, I'm here. If I'm here, I'm going to be competitive. Pace car is out and down and away.
And the green flag is going to be coming back out as we get started. Stage number 3. Of course, this is going to be the longest stage of the race. Green flag pit stops are going to be a possibility. 45 laps they have on a tank of gas. And we are almost encroaching on that halfway point.
Keselowski he is pushing the heck out of the 64 Darren Mullins. Mullins not going to quite wait to get Keselowski clears. He's going to go ahead and drop down to that inside line. That's going to cause him to kind of lose the position. But here comes Keselowski, this time being pushed by the 9 of J.C. Evans. That's somebody you didn't expect to see up front. And if he is now cleared the bottom line, looks like these two might be trying to come down together. Keselowski out by himself now, sitting as a lame duck, waiting to see which line's going to lead him to freedom.
100%. I'm not surprised to see J.C. Evans up here. I saw him in that last stage, Big Al. He was closer to the front and it was leading the top line at some portion. So it's not a surprise. He's got a fast race car, fast Chevy in that 9 machine. J.C. has been, of course, he's not a really old guard kind of guy in the ISCA, but he is one that has been with us for a season or so, and he's been doing well. He's been getting better and better, and I love those stories to watch these guys get better and better and improve as they compete in these ISCA races.
Well, if he continues to do what he does for another 2 turns, he would get credit for leading the lap. I don't know if he's actually going to have enough momentum to get it done. Big thing, though, about this is these guys are being ultra aggressive here, Brian, and this is just the beginning of the 3rd stage. Green flag pit stops do loom in our future. Be it some unforeseen caution that would actually throw this whole thing up into a tailspin.
Yeah, we have not seen a wreck really that has caused a caution yet tonight. Of course, we have seen some beating and banging. I mean, Shane Paris, I know he had an issue where he had some contact. He's still up in 11th, though, so it doesn't seem like it's hurting him very much. That's another thing we haven't really discussed about tonight in these next-gen cars. The difference between them, the Gen 6 and the Xfinity and the trucks, is that, you have a contact at 190 mile an hour in a truck or Xfinity, your car's done. But if you have something like that happen in this next gen, you could still drive away. I mean, these cars are tanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of tanks, here comes Paul Olsen. He's trying to get himself up into the top 10 for the first time tonight, as he is right now battling on that high line. He has got the 18 of Alexander Kari right down there on the inside. And we just got to give kudos to all of these guys, man, because plate racing, for these guys to be able to be out here, be in such close proximity of each other for as long as they are, I mean, that is definitely kudos to each and every one of these drivers that are out here actually making this production here go down as smooth as possible.
100%, and you can even listen in where, kind of in the cockpit camera here of Paul Olsen, you can even hear in these straightaways, he's lifting. Like, he has to lift, otherwise he would drill the back of that 66. So, I mean, it just shows that plate racing's not all throw the gas pedal down or push it all the way down. You have to you have to modulate the gas a whole lot when you're around this racetrack.
100%.
But definitely an awesome performance so far from that 43 of Paul Olsen. You see side by side with his teammate Greg Wyszynski. Haven't talked a lot about him tonight as well. He's starting to enter, I do believe, the top 12. As Paul Olsen moves down to the bottom, Josh Schaffner side by side with Mark Sanchez at the moment. Sanchez in that one stage lost the draft completely. He is probably not wanting to let that happen again here tonight.
Yeah, you guarantee you don't, especially halfway through. But the big thing right now is just being smart about where you're at and what you're doing. You don't want to do anything right now that's going to cause yourself or destruction to yourself or any other driver. You just want to be available, Brian. That's the key thing right now. So drivers just got to be smart about what they're doing and where they're at.
Now, one thing I want to talk about a little bit about Al Kozlowski's interview. He talked about, like, hey, Josh Daniels has been working really good with me. Brandon Pasalakwa's been working really good to me. One name he didn't mention was Darren Mullins, and that is who is right behind him right now. I don't think Darren's got any loyalties here. So we're 3 wide in the mid-pack. See J.C. Evans in the middle, Paul Olson on the bottom. And I do believe that is, do apologize, Saucier on the top there. Almost even version on 4 wide here.
Yeah, nothing good is going to come out of this. Everybody's, I guess, trying to figure out where they're at, but I'm going to tell you where they're going to end up. They're going to end up in the infield care center.
Yeah, we almost saw Kenny Powell end up there as the 9 got incredibly loose off the corner there. And we're seeing the pack actually split apart. Now, this is a worst-case scenario for any of these guys that are in this other pack.
I mean, green flag pit stops. That's all I want to say about that. And I guarantee you, and I know a lot of these guys have been running, all of the A open races. But the unfortunate thing about those races, Brian, is you very rarely get to make green flag pit stops. So you think, I've run 4 or 5 races out here. But yeah, in those 4 or 5 races, you probably didn't get to make green flag pit stops. I can't reiterate that enough. Well, these guys are going to have to make green flag pit stops. That you don't really get a choice on that here in the ISCA.
Yeah, the racing is definitely so clean and green that you usually have to make a green flag stop. So definitely, hopefully, these guys have had practice with that in the A Opens. But like you said, it's a rarity that those races do go green. So, I would do it in practice. Maybe get your guys together, work together, and, get it ingrained in your muscle memory, because you do not want to make a mistake on pit road here. And one of the issues about pitting here at Daytona is a lot of times when you go into the pit road side by side, Big Al, you're like, most of the time it's like, hey, I picked the wall, I picked the outside. You know what I mean? And you have to be able to slow down at You what?
I said I totally get it. Comprende,
And that's such a difficult thing. It takes a lot of communication, Big Al, between these teams and even people that are not on your team. You need to be talking to them and letting them, even though you don't want to give away your secrets, you also don't want to be do anything that could jeopardize anybody else's race.
Yeah, but you're not talking to the guys that aren't on your team, and you don't get the little luxury of waving your little hand out the window. I mean, it doesn't work that way here. That's not what this is about.
Well, I mean, they can still, mic up over the radios and tell each other, talk to each other.
Well, yeah,
most of communication is in, in Discord or a private type deal.
But most of these guys, they want the element of surprise. You don't want to let anybody know, because that is your key secret. Ooh, little squirrely right there is the 5, finds himself right behind the 4. Wait, the 5 does come behind him. Yeah, there it is.
Yep,
5's right where he's supposed to be.
On this episode of Sesame Street.
Look, long race, man. Just trying to, keep it loose.
It's been a good race, even though it's been a long one. It has been a good race. These guys have kept it, side by side and interesting the entire time.
Yeah, just over halfway through this thing, man. 56 laps to go before we can make somebody a king here. We're going to crown a winner, and that's the cool thing about these races. My most favorite thing is it could be anyone.
Well, what's really interesting about this, we see 5 cars up on the top right now, just 5. And they're able to start drafting up. That top line is really starting to come together to where you don't need as many people, but you have to be organized. And I think the guys that are in this line are organized. I mean, you see you see Brian Johnson, he's G&G. You see Greg Wychinski, G&G. Josh Schaffner, G&G, to 24 of Kenny Powell. I mean, these guys they work together. That's what they do. And interesting to see that. Also, you see the 22, Scott Naslin. He's going to follow right in there as well behind those guys.
And, one guy that loves the Highline more than anything in the world, that's Al Kozlowski, who's also a G&G guy. All I'm saying is, it's not just 5 guys up top. If that makes any sense, no reference to the sandwich company, but, those aren't just 5 normal dudes. Those are 5 guys that have a plan that are on the same team. So that's just something to watch out for.
100%. I mean, But you do see a little bit of a spreading out here on the bottom line.
Ooh.
Paul Olson getting really squirrely.
Yeah, and that caused the 18. The 18 actually went below the double yellow. And that, anytime you go or touching that yellow line here at this track, you're really along for the ride. I mean, if there's a bull in Daytona, she's probably got 2 big yellow stripes going down her back.
Yeah, you speak of that 18, too. We haven't really talked a whole lot about Alexander Carr. He's up in, I do believe, 8th or 9th. He's kind of switching back and forth because he's racing with Josh Schaffner. But, I'm wondering if he's in a relation to Greg Carr. I mean, Carr is kind of a last name I haven't seen a lot of, so wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't that be interesting? We have a whole lot of father and son duos or brothers out here in ISCA, don't we, Big Al?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. How many Brits you know?
Not a lot.
How many Nixons you know?
I actually know a lot of those.
Oh, man, get over yourself. Come on, man. Just like that, look at that highline, though. Look at Brian Johnson go. He is now avenging his brother's, dishonorable discharge from ISCA or iRacing here tonight due to packet loss.
People are going to be thinking that he got kicked out of the league.
Well, no, he got kicked. His internet service.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Look at this, though. Brian Johnson and Greg Wychinski showing a significant amount of speed. I think this actually is the first time Greg Wychinski's been up in the top 3 tonight.
So now the question is Keselowski just kind of bagging the bottom row to kind of allow his G&G bros to get the run off the top side there? Be very interesting if that were the case, because Kenny Powell now is going to be coming. And the question is, does Keselowski now allow Schaffner to come down in, or does he wait and allow Powell to drop down in? I mean, because
that's a long shot, though. I say that's a long shot, and literally all the top 4 could go down right now. Or for a second they could, but yeah, it's a possibility that all 4 of those guys could drop down in front of Al Keselowski. But we talked to Al. I mean, he's got an injured. He's injured. His foot's numb. I mean, and that's the gas pedal. If he gets behind Kenny Powell, I don't know if he's going to be able to really hold back when it comes to.
But all he's got to do at that point is draft. It takes less pressure to draft than it does the throttle down. And if you're leading a row, you're throttling down. If you're drafting, then you don't take as much pressure on your foot.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of actually think the opposite, Big Al. I think that when you're in the lead, you're pressing the gas pedal all the way down. You're not worried about having to modulate it. Any time I've been at these super speedways, I usually get a pain in my ankle from having to hold it half throttle.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
But yeah, but look at that. I mean, the bottom is starting to surge back ahead. So this race is not over by a long shot. But Brian Johnson, like you said, kind of taking this lead for his brother. I'd love to see if his brother Chris had been out here, though, to race against him. I think that it would have been a great show.
Yeah, but still, Brian, I mean, Greg Wychinski is our biggest movers. He started all the way back in 19th, and now he finds himself up in 2nd. But Brian's right behind him. He started in 17th, and he finds himself in the lead of this thing. 50 laps to go. We're well within we're not quite within our fuel window. So when do you think they're coming down? Do you think they're coming down in 5, 10, 15? I mean, what are you banking? Because they got to stop. So where do you think the majority of these guys are going to lasso a lap at?
I'm thinking probably 90. I think around 90. That's the one thing about super speedways, though, that there could be so many different strategies. I mean, these guys could try to run the tank out, and I think running the tank out will get you to about 100. But it all depends on how much fuel you take on pit road. I mean, there's so many variables when it comes to pit road that could, you could be right now sitting in 10th and take less fuel than everybody, and as long as you can make it on gas, you jump out in front of everybody, Big Al.
Or do you wait on the caution? Because there's a very, very high probability that you're going to get a late race caution.
Yeah, I think that there is a probability for that to happen. I mean, we haven't seen truly the big one yet. And Daytona, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when.
Oh, absolutely. We're just waiting on it to occur. I mean, that's the reason why everybody comes here, because, I mean, what are you waiting on?
And there he goes. Kenny Powell drops down to the bottom along with Josh Schaffner, Greg Wyszynski, and Brian Johnson right in front of Al Kozlowski. Looks like the top line is utterly disintegrated now.
Crazy. I didn't see that coming.
It happens. I mean, I'm telling you, with these super speedways, it is so unpredictable. It's almost like waves in the ocean, the way that things happen here at the super speedway.
I kind of called it.
You definitely did. I mean, you said that those top, Brian Johnson, Greg Wyszynski, Josh Schaffner could have, should probably drop down in front of Kozlowski, and they did that. But it looks like Kozlowski, like I said, Kozlowski's not going to sit behind Kenny Powell. And he's doing exactly what he's, as soon as they pop down in front of him, he's like, nope, I'm going back to the top.
He's going to take that top line now. Now he's going to regulate the top line. I mean, man, this is an awesome show right here. If you just look at the way it's all playing out.
And look who's hooked back up again, the 88 and the 07. Josh Daniels there. He's been showing some significant speed in that Dust Devil car.
So the question is, this is what I'm waiting to see now. I'm waiting to see the frustration level that's going to occur from the 64 and the 77. Those are going to be the two choke points that we're going to watch here.
Yeah, I think that you just had your question answered. The 64 has moved up to the top. Darren Mullins says he's not going to sit behind Kenny Powell as well. And he moves up to the top, and that allows Ryan Strunk to move up another spot. So now the top line 4 strong. And we'll see if they can make it happen. I mean, Al Kozlowski has got a fast race car.
Indeed he does.
And look at that. I mean, it's kind of confusing. You see Josh Daniels and Greg Wyszynski's car. They look very similar.
Yeah, they really do look very similar.
I'm going to need them to change that for us. But I think green flag pit stops are coming up. Probably now in probably 10 laps. What do you think, Big Al?
I don't know. I'm just watching this whole thing unfold here, man. And, yeah, it's very interesting to say the least.
They've been out here for 23 laps right now.
The high line has definitely got its mojo going. They're right at the limit for fuel to get through this thing. But I think you go a couple more laps, though, just so you can kind of get over that green-white checker that you probably got.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. Because, yeah, you mentioned it before, too, about track position being so important. Like, I mean, if you have a green-white checker, you don't want to have to go back into pit road. You want to stay out.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So look at Darren Mullins now. Look at what has happened to him. He is the 64 and the 77 are together, but they're all the way back in 8th and 9th.
Yeah, it happens fast. I mean, he drops all the way back. Now side by side with Kenny Powell. They're getting the run going, but, I mean, because Al Kozlowski and Josh Daniels and Brandon Pastelacqua kind of ditched the top line, I mean, all it takes is a second that those guys lose that momentum. They're going to try to regather it back up. They've got some guys to help. Greg Carr, glad to see him back up here. I know he actually almost went a lap down, or did go a lap down in the first stage, if I'm not mistaken. Or it might have been the second stage.
Now that J.C. Evans found himself on an island all by himself.
Oh, my word, that has got to be terrible. He was just up in the top 10 not long ago. So something happened with J.C. Evans. We missed that. So easy to lose a draft here. And you can see how much slower you really are. I mean, it's multiple seconds that you lose with not being in that pack. So he's gonna be praying for a caution because there's not a lot that can save you when you're all by yourself out there.
Yeah, well, good luck waiting on a caution.
It doesn't seem like one's gonna come, but I mean, like we said before, It's bound to happen. I think a lot of these guys have it in their minds that, hey, let's just chill out. Let's single file out. We know pit stops are going to be coming. Let's go ahead and start preparing for that.
I mean, what else do you do?
Well, I mean, you could do like the 22 of Scott Naslin and Darren Mullins and I do believe 3 of Saucier.
What I mean, there's nothing to gain here at this point in the race. I mean, period. There's nothing to gain. A lot to lose. You got everything to lose. So this is the part where I think you totally just lay even keel.
Yeah, because, I mean, the picture we're seeing right now is probably not going to be the running order at the end of this thing. Because, I mean, it's just, like I said, I mean, plate racing is almost, it ebbs and flows. It's so hard to even keep track of where, if anybody is position-wise. But right now, it's getting pretty easy. I mean, Al Kozlowski's in the lead. Josh Daniels is in second place. Brandon Pasalacqua, of course, in third. Brian Johnson, I do believe he's sitting in fourth place. Greg Wychinski, fifth. And for the most part, starting to single file back out again. The only person on the top is Josh Naslin. Or not Josh Naslin. I did what you do. Scott Naslin. Clayton Powell, right?
Seen Clayton Powell in a minute.
I've never seen him.
Touche. But the 9 of J.C. Evans is going to be doing everything he can to try to figure out how he fits into the bigger picture here, Brian, because like you said, nobody wants to go a lap down. But right now he's going to have to deal with that, and that is going to be an issue for him.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, he's going to end up going a lap down, and it's going to be sooner rather than later. Like I said, this pack is just so much faster than him, and every lap they're gaining seconds on him at the moment. And just he needs a caution, and there's no hope for him, essentially. When you're by yourself, there's nothing you can do, and it almost is a helpless feeling.
Yeah, especially when you see that entire horde just encroaching on you, and you know, it goes from a blip in your rearview mirror in your relative until just a dominant picture. And you do realize there's nothing you can do. And at the same token, you're thinking you don't want to ruin anybody else's race. So I tell you what's probably going to happen. I think as they roll up on the 9, you'll see him go ahead and ditch down pit road. So he'll probably be pitting on this next lap.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a good call for him. You know, he's got 3 options, essentially, or 4 options, really. You know, he could stay on the bottom and let them kind of envelop him so he could try to stay in the draft. That's one of the only ways you can really do that. He can go to the top and ride the wall while they all get around him on the bottom. If he does that, it's going to be very difficult to keep the draft. But if he stays on the bottom, then he's going to be able to get a lot of side draft to stay with this lead pack. But he, you know, that is the main thing that he wants to do. He does not want to lose the draft again, even though he'll be a lap down. I would do everything I can to try to stay in that draft for this lead pack. Because if a caution comes out, you'll be the lucky dog. You'll go right around, and everything will be fine. But if you're by yourself again, there's a chance you could go multiple laps down.
Yeah, I totally get it, but I don't think anybody's going to want to play with him. I mean, at this point, he's going to be the stinky kid in class.
We'll have to wait and see. Like you said, the other option is him going down pit road or just going down onto the apron.
And we saw that happen earlier. I do believe that's what Greg Carr did here earlier in the.
See, here he goes. He goes to the top. See, he chose choice number 2.
And that's not always the best play because sometimes the high line is going to be the faster line. But hopefully he'll get through this and it won't be an issue.
Well, if he could just try to drop down behind some guys, or this could even be an opportunity. Some guys might think to jump out and have him push them.
Yeah, but let me ask you this question. How do you feel about the guy that's a lap down, that's involved in the lead pack in racing, that's affecting the outcome of the race as a lead down?
I don't see a problem with it. I mean, I don't see a problem with it at all. I think that he has every right to be up there racing just as like anybody else. Now, if he's out there being really reckless and aggressive, then that's a different story. But now if he's just taking it, easy and staying in line and pushing and running with the lines and not doing any really aggressive moves, then I have no problems with him being out there. And I think he's going to try to get down behind Paul Olson here and see if he can't get the whiff of this draft and stick with these guys now.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with, especially if it's a teammate. Like if let's say, just for instance, if Josh Schaffner was a lap down right now and he was in this pack right behind Greg Wyszynski, there's nothing wrong with him trying to push his teammate, and help him.
Well, you're tailor making the scenario now, so I got it. Yeah. Totally get what you're saying. I was just asking overall as a general context, what do you think about guys that are a lap down or 2 laps down competing with lead lap cars, especially in a plate race?
Well, I don't think it's as big a deal on the plate race.
Where they could potentially affect the outcome of the race.
I don't think it's as big of a deal on the plate race. Now, when you go to like a short track or something like that, yeah, you're racing the leaders really hard and stuff like that. That can be definitely leave a bad taste in your mouth. But here at a super speedway, it's like he has the same speed as you. You know what I mean? Like the only reason he's not a lap down is because he lost the draft.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
So I mean, now like I said, if it was a short track or a road course and this guy was out here racing lead lap cars and hurting them, that would be a different story. But I don't think that he's, people. If you're a lap down in the pack, you're necessarily hurting anybody. But we have seen the pack start to split into 2 now, Big Al.
Absolutely. It tells you one or two things. I mean, these guys are starting to get spread out because they're getting ready to make decisions about when they're going to pit.
Which is surprising. We see Scott Naslin leading this second pack here. And I think you might have been on to something earlier. I don't think that this car is meant to be in the lead draft or leading a pack, because it seems like he just does not have enough pace. Because I mean, these guys are on the line; they should be able to catch this first pack. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if they're able to do so.
And you look and you see that Sanchez is actually pushing the 22. And that's something we hadn't seen. We hadn't seen guys actually be able to close the distance where they're actually shoving the car in front of them. So, I mean, just other things like that I look at.
We must be watching 2 different races because I've seen a whole lot of pushing.
Well,
especially without, almost some problems there. So 22 gets kicked sideways by the 29, and there goes Ryan Strunk to the top.
I mean, not like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, he is at a point where he is not getting pushed. He's getting shoved.
Yeah.
And that just brings it into question for me. It's just maybe his car maybe the order's wrong.
Maybe. Yeah, that could definitely be the case. And it's hard to settle things like that, because it's almost a matter of pride. Like, hey, man, I want to lead this pack. I mean, I did an A Open a couple days ago to where I was leading one of the lines, and they were like, man, you're holding us up, and it hurts your feelings a little bit when they say that, but you got to get out of the way. I mean, you're hurting the line.
Come on, Grandpa, get it in gear. Yeah, but that's the reality of what you got to deal with. And you really hadn't seen this kind of, disparity between the groups.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge gap now. Over, I do believe, a little under 3 seconds in between the first pack and the second. But they are reaching that point where they got to pit. I mean, the fuel window is 45 laps. They're almost now 40 laps into this run.
And I think, like I said, most of the guys are going to come down towards the end just so they can make sure that they spend the least amount of time on pit road as possible. That's going to be the key because, like you said, tires aren't really going to be the factor. It's going to be the amount of time that you spend on pit road as well as track position. Yeah, I guarantee you if this second pack switches up their order, they're definitely going to make some distance.
Yeah, we definitely will have to wait and see. But I definitely think they are at a distinct disadvantage right now if they don't make this gap up. But now if the front pack here starts racing each other, that could change it completely. Because even though there's about a 3-second gap, or a little over 3-second gap in between the first and second pack, that could go away very quickly. And here comes green flag pit stops. Al Kozlowski, Josh Daniels, Brandon Pasalakwa, Brian Johnson, Greg Wachin. Oh, Passalacqua almost loses it.
Accident, and there's, hair, teeth, eyeballs everywhere. This is on pit road. This will not bring out a caution. This is not good. Al Koslowski, the recipient of a black flag, that's all but going to end whatever chance he had of winning this thing tonight. But just like that, Brian, and like I said, you don't practice green flag pit stops. And
Yeah,
if
and
you
you know,
replay that one. Yeah, if you just replay that one, I think you'll understand exactly why they're so important.
Yeah, 100%. They're very important. I definitely see it. But Passalacqua was able to save it. Did he get a black flag?
The only black flag that I saw was for Al Koslowski.
We're taking a look back at it right here. They're going to be coming down pit road right now. We're looking at it from Brandon Passalacqua. You can see Al Koslowski definitely drove it in really hard, locked up the brakes, was not able to slow down in time. Wow. That is going to be that's an ender. Because, he led a lot of laps here tonight.
Yeah.
But it looks like Shane Paris, first time here in the ISCA, going to lead some laps here tonight. He's got, I do believe, the 119 of Matthews behind him.
Yeah, but he hadn't pit yet, so he still is yet to come down pit road. And once he makes his green flag pit stop, we'll see exactly how he fares and where he comes out. Him and Matthews both the only two drivers left to actually come down and pit.
And I do believe who really is going to be the leader here after those two pit is going to be Josh Daniels, because he is leading this pack. This guy seems like he is a heck of a plate racer. He, of course, qualified on the pole and has been right in the conversation the entire race, Big Al. Could he win his first start in the ISCA tonight?
Yeah, come on now. We still got a lot of laps to go, 27 to be exact. And there's no loyalty amongst, iRacers. That's the easiest way to say that. So there's no reason for anybody to necessarily just sit back behind this guy and coast him to victory. We just got to let this thing play out and see exactly how it does just that.
100%. Of course, Alexander Carr is a lap down. The 3 of Saucier is also a lap down. So a lot of guys in that pit stop sequence did go a lap down, and it did spread out the field quite a bit. Of course, you see there's one pack that involves, I do believe, Josh Daniels, Brian Johnson, Brandon Passalacqua, Josh Schaffner, Kenny Powell, and Greg Wachinski. And then there's Darren Mullins and Brandon, I do believe, Holloman, who are in 9th and 10th, and they are just together, I think, a 2-car tandem right now.
Yeah, both the 119 of Robert Matthews and Shane Parrish have just pit. They're both on pit road, so that is going to bring an end to green flag pit stops.
Yeah, and definitely a much different race right now. We talked about that before. I was like, the picture at the end of this thing is going to look much different than what we were looking at just a few moments ago. Al Koslowski being the main, I think, just unfortunate to see a black flag like that really just affect you like that. I mean, you're saying encapsulates exactly what's going on here. I mean, you race for show and you pit for dough, Big Al.
Absolutely. And, Brian, there were a lot of other cars that were involved in melees that occurred on pit road that this totally would have ended otherwise perfect race nights, you know what I mean? And unfortunately for those guys, Koslowski's going to be right there in the mix of things as the lead pack now comes around him. He is definitely, to add insult to injury, to see these guys and think to yourself, hey, I was up there with those guys. I was leading that pack, just to have them just run by you. It is what it is. I mean, we've all been there, but
it's a heartbreaker.
Yeah, it absolutely. But it just goes to show, man, it's racing, and it really sucks when you're putting it back on the trailer, and you're only talking about what could have been, and but it is what it is.
100%. But good to see he has now gotten back on to this lead pack, or not. And he's not on the lead lap, of course, but he's on this lead pack's tail end, so he can kind of try to help out his teammates, and and he of course I do believe would be able to get a lap back he is in that lucky dog position at the moment. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last, just considering the 15th position, Scott Naslin, is going to be going a lap down eventually, I do believe. Josh Daniels falls back. I think maybe this is a fuel issue, because if he was the leader, gives it up to Brian Johnson. I think he's doing this for the reason that he might want to save a little gas. Maybe looked at the black box, noticed that, hey, I don't have enough.
I mean, he had 14.8 seconds in the box, Brian, and I don't know what else that would be other than a full stop. So,
yeah, I don't know then. That's really odd.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is that maybe he's just saying that, look, I mean, I'm a crow amongst vultures, and sometimes you have to look at the wingspan and the fangs of the people that you're around and just figure out what the best place where you could actually be, productive even. Because, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, that's a whole lot of G's right there to be leading. You know what I mean? You got OGs, you got GGs, you got Kenny G's.
You're crazy, big ass. But definitely an awesome race so far, as we're verging on now just over 20 laps to go. Brian Johnson, of course, up in the lead with Brandon Pasalacqua right there behind him. Josh Schaffner sitting in that third place position with Kenny Powell and Greg Wyszynski, fourth and fifth. Of course, Josh Daniels in sixth, and that is the front pack. Then you go all the way back, about 8 seconds back. Darren Mullins is in seventh. We got Holloman in the 10 machine right there behind him. Mark Sanchez even further back than the front pack is to those guys. He's about 20 seconds from the leader. And then, of course, right there with him is Mr. Fuge.
Did you see the 22 of Scott Naslin now going a lap down as well? Another guy who was running pretty much in the top 5 the majority of the contest, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the best pushers out there, I'd say. He was one of the best pushers.
Yeah, he went from being a pusher to being in a witness protection program.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate to see that for sure. And, because of all this, all these guys during those green flag pit stops getting so split up, the chances of a caution coming out are very, very low right now. So this could be exactly how this kind of ends. Of course, I think that these guys are still, even though if it's 6 or 7 cars, it doesn't matter. They're going to race each other.
I don't think it ends like this. I think these guys are definitely, right now, I think they're just doing what they got to do in order to stay alive here, in order to be able to feast. But at the end of this thing, I think it goes all out.
Yeah, 100%. While we have a little bit of a lull here in the action, let's take a brief step away and pay some more attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with some more racing here with the Hooters 313. Can't talk. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
Or there, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
You gotta get down to Hooters, have a drink, catch the game, get yourself some awesome wings. It's the place to do your thing. You gotta get down to Hooters. Here she comes, a girl next door, hanging with good friends and more. Come on, what you waiting for? You gotta get down to Hooters. So get on up and get on down to Hooters.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Brian Johnson is still in the lead with Brandon Pasalacqua in second, Josh Schaffner third, Kenny Powell fourth, Greg Wachinski fifth, Josh Daniels in sixth. But the story really is, Big Al, Darren Mullins has been running down this front pack with the help of Holloman in that 10 machine.
That's going to be interesting to see because, we talked about this routinely. When the cars are in a tandem, sometimes they seem to be faster. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be faster than a group of 5 or 6, but if that group of 5 or 6 doesn't keep it kind of close and tight, it definitely could be the case.
And it looks like we're verging on now 15 laps to go. Of course, they are running out of time, the 64 and the 10. And, of course, you see the 18 also in tow. I do believe he is a lap down, which the 18 is, I do believe, Alexander Carr. And someone else right there as well. I do believe that is actually Saucier. So, guys lap down, still helping out Darren Mullins and Holloman here. So, hopefully they're able to catch up and make this thing interesting, which, I don't know. I mean, they're ebbing and flowing here. They were about 8 seconds back. They've gotten it back to about 6.8 now. What do you make of this, Big Al? Do you think they got a chance to catch up there to that first pack?
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, honestly, that's the reason why they make us run every single lap and every single turn. But I got a question for you.
All right.
You're looking at the lead pack. There's 14 laps to go. Where do you want to be in the top 6?
That's a good question. I mean, probably want to be in second place. Second or third, one. I mean, just because, I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I did win a race last night in the C Open trucks. And what I was in second for a lot of that race. And what I did is I went to the top, made him think I was going to the top, and then dropped underneath him. And that's a valid technique that Brandon Pasalacqua could use here. That's the thing about plate racing, Big Al. It's all about mind games. It really is. It's chess at 200 mile an hour.
Okay. I was just curious.
That's all I get. You asked me that question and it just, okay, just curious.
I mean, you answered it. You answered that you'd rather be in second place.
Where would you rather be?
I think I'd like to be in fifth.
Fifth place, Greg Wachinski. That's who you want to be right now.
I could really work with fifth.
Man, he's gonna love that. I mean,
well, at that point, you really you really dictate a lot of stuff. Plus, you got Keselowski, who's behind you, who's already kind of proven that he wants to be on the high line. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Heck yeah. I definitely would want to be up there with all my teammates, and I think that's why G&G's up there and probably pretty dang happy about it. Going to be a good points day for them. But still, I mean, the question is, Darren Mullins is still catching this front pack. I mean, he's 6 seconds back, but he's definitely running out of time. Verging on now 11 laps to go. But what a story. Brian Johnson up here in the lead. Like you said, I think he might be the biggest mover at the moment.
Yeah, right now, yeah, absolutely. He started this thing back in 17th place. Currently, he is in the lead. The next is Greg Wachinski, who started back in 19th, and now he is finding currently himself in 5th place. So, yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles, if you will. Going to be 10 laps to go at the line here.
Yeah, definitely got to talk a lot of goodness about Josh Daniels, though. I mean, to make such a splash here in the ISCA, and I know we talk about this as Daytona. Anybody can win this race, but you have to be able to put it together. It shows car control to be able to get on and off pit road without losing this front draft. And I expect big things from that 0-7 there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm definitely kind of excited to see what the future holds for all of these guys. And I'm glad to get the expansion in the league, if anything. Ooh, a little accordion effect there going on as the 4 kind of starts to back the field up with 10 to go. He's got to ensuring that nobody gets a run on him, Brian.
100%. And I do believe next week will be Auto Club. So be kind of super speedway like, but then again, tire saving is going to be a massive thing, Big Al.
Ode to next week.
I mean, kind of sad to see that Auto Club's not going to be the same. Just considering, they're going to be doing a whole lot of construction to that racetrack. I think they're actually in the process of doing that, transforming it into a short track, from what I've heard. And that's one of the things I love about iRacing, though, Big Al, is because, you could see tracks in their other versions, and they still stay alive. Like the old Atlanta, you know what I mean? That's still alive because of iRacing.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we're coming up on, I do believe, 7 laps to go, or actually going to be 8 laps to go here this time. And Brian Johnson still in the lead. Now, this is when this front pack probably starts to race each other, don't you think?
I'm going to say more. It's going to be more 3 to go. That's where I'm imagining it's going to get kind of torn apart. If they go any sooner than that, it's going to be short-lived. You really got to you only get one shot at showing your hand. And unfortunately, I think unless you got 2 different cards you're playing, I don't think you show it really early.
We do see some opportunity for maybe some passing a little bit further back here. We see the 25 of Greg Carr, who is actually in the 11th place position. They're only about 2 seconds behind the 71 of Fugue. And, of course, he is also with Mark Sanchez, I do believe, there. So we could see some changes in position here, maybe for the top 10.
I believe those were the guys that were all kind of wrapped up in those incidents on pit road. They're all kind of together, and I think that's why they all kind of came out like that.
Yeah, I think, of course, I missed that accident and did show the issue with Brandon Pasolaco and Al Kozlowski, but you did mention that there were actually a lot of kind of altercations a little bit when they were negotiating pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got a little bit too wide there to try to slip those hips in there, and it just didn't work out too good.
Now, what are the track conditions out there like, Big Al? It looks like the sun's starting to maybe go down a little bit here.
The track temps are really gone down, man. 84 degrees here, the ambient. 88 degrees is your track temp. Winds have picked up there out of the south at 14 miles an hour. Still partly cloudy, though, and no fog. So just a beautiful February evening here in Daytona as it is 5:21 in Sim. Brian
Johnson, the sun is going to go down.
Yep, Brian Johnson doing what he's got to do here. He's got to do it for 5 more laps at the line before we'll actually be able to crown a victor here in this thing tonight, Brian. Been a very exciting race, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate our sponsors. And, man, it's been interesting. And no cautions. How about that? Outside of our stage breaks, we've been green the whole time.
Yeah, that is definitely a crazy thing, and we always talk about an accident's not if it's going to happen, it's when at tracks like Daytona and Talladega, but does not appear to be the case here tonight. But of course, we still have the opportunity for a caution to come out. Just considering, I mean, these guys are going to make moves. They're going to start to want to make these moves now. Just a little bit of an update on the front of Darren Mullins. We saw that he, for a long time, was catching up to this front pack. That is no longer. He has now fallen back to 7.3, so I do not believe it is in the realm of possibility that he will be able to catch up to this front pack. So I think it's this top 6 that is actually going to have the chance to win this race.
Yep, so now we're going to be watching to see exactly how Brian Johnson manages this, because all of the cards are in his hand right now. He dictates the race pace, and he has got to make certain that he keeps everybody in a single line. That's going to be the key. And you see, he's got contact! Crazy wreck back.
Yellow flag is out.
That's going to bring out the caution. That same pack that has such a hard time there together, that back with Paul Olsen, the guys that kind of wrecked going into pit road, just got into each other there. So that wasn't good.
And we're going to take a look back and see exactly what happened. I know it involved a 66 and a 25. Take a look back and see exactly what happened. Okay, yeah, the 25 and the 77, that is exactly where it kicked off. Paul Olsen kicked around the 66 of Shane Paris. Let's take a look back at that from the 25's point of view.
We're still tearing cars up. The 18's trying to figure out what he wants to be when he grows up. Greg Carr and Ryan Strunk, both recipients of meatball flags.
And I think Carr just got into the apron and shot up. And that just was like a pinball, or more like a the white ball on a billiard table. Just.
Yeah, I mean, lots and lots of calamity going on there on the racetrack.
And like you said, still was going on there for a second to see Ryan Strunk kind of stuck in the ground.
Yeah, Strunk's going to probably just take a tow. It's going to be his best bet.
And that is going to make a green-white checkered here.
And this is the reason why you waited to come out, so you don't have to pit now. There's no reason to come down pit road, period. I mean, worst case scenario, coming down pit road at this point. Makes flag ends it. Yeah.
And this is also going to bring a whole lot more people into the competition, because it was just that top 6. Now it's going to be everybody that's on the lead lap has a chance to win this race.
And Al Koslowski getting a lucky dog, so he is back into the hunt.
Oh, boy. He's got to be happy about that.
But, here in the GNG, sorry, not the GNG, but in the ISCA, you only get one green-white checker. So this is it. The next flag ends it. It freezes the field position. So,
will we end it under yellow, or will we finish this thing under green? It's the real question for sure. No matter what happens.
You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose. I mean, me, at this point, I'm a bull in a china shop. I'm ultra aggressive. I'm trying to get to the front by any means, period. I don't care. What are you doing?
I'm definitely trying to get to the front 100%. I mean, trying to do this is the time to do it,
Yeah,
but the thing is whatever happens here could we got a Super Cup season, Big Al, coming up after this race here. Well, that's going to lead into that. Anything that happens here at Daytona could affect the rest of this season.
I totally get it, but we had a race where it turned out to be the WWE, out of turn 4, where the whole thing just was a Royal Rumble. I think we had like 4 cars that didn't get involved in the melee out of a 25-car field. So I think you should probably expect something like that here tonight.
100%. As it looks like the pace car lights are out, we're getting set for that green-white checkered.
Aren't you excited? Aren't you glad you stuck around for this? Brandon Pasquale is going to be leading
I could have just left. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Brian Johnson's going to be leading the field. Sorry.
I think he chose the top interesting decision there from Brian Johnson.
Well, that's where he wants to be. I mean, and he understands that his best shot of taking the lead is getting the run off the top. If he is on the bottom, he's just watching the guy get the run off the top and do. You understand what I'm saying? So he wants that play, and I really can't blame him for that.
Well, yeah, and also he's got Kenny Powell behind him. He knows Kenny Powell's going to be giving him some really good pushes. And he's going to be doing exactly, essentially what Chris Johnson did earlier in the race when he took the lead. He's going to try to see if he can't do what his brother did here.
Yeah, I think he tries to sucker Pasquale into, maybe a black flag for Goose to start.
I would hope he wouldn't do that.
Well, look, it's a part of racing. I mean,
it is, but that always gives you a bad taste when you give somebody a black flag, especially if you do it on purpose. Now, if you do it on accident, that's one thing.
He can't give somebody a black flag. I mean, everybody just has to be cognizant and start on the leader. That's what we're looking for. As the pace car is soon to be off and out of the way, we'll be coming to that Geico restart zone for the final time tonight, regardless.
And there it is. Green flag is back out. Brian Johnson definitely caught Brandon Pasalakwa sleeping. He's going to come down in front of Brandon here, leaving his teammate Kenny Powell.
I think Brandon was just giving them the room. He did not want to risk it, but this is turning into a race between the two. Kenny Powell is actually the proud recipient of the top line, trying to get them organized. But right now, the story is between the 4 and the 6.
And they still have time to get this line manifested. Because, of course, you got a two-car tandem here with Brian Johnson. They're not going to be able to stand up to the combined forces.
Ooh. Kenny Powell's bringing that high line around here with 2 laps to go.
Soon to be the white flag waving in the air.
Yeah, I think this is going to get very interesting as that high line is all organized now, Brian.
And the next flag will end it. White flag is out. Josh Daniels giving Kenny Powell some monster pushes right now. Of course, he's followed by Holloman in the 10 machine. Brian Johnson leads on the bottom with Brandon Pasalakwa right there behind him. Josh Schaffner going to be able to draft up to the back end of the 6th machine. Not over yet, though, as we enter turn 3 and 4 here in just a moment.
50 lost his opportunity to get up in the high line. Now Powell's going to be doing everything he can. We've seen the 7 push. A little bit of separation between the 6 and the 4. That's going to cause a little bit of problems for the back in the field. 64 makes it 3 wide, but here we come. Brian Johnson got to do everything he can. He goes up the block, and Kenny Powell goes sideways at the line. Brian Johnson's going to win it by a nose, and melee ensues. Brian, we'll be looking at this.
A little bit of controversy there with Brian Johnson's win, I'd say. If he actually was below the yellow line.
We're going to have to check it out. I said we're going to be looking at this replay for a long time. Let's start now.
Look at it from Kenny Powell's point of view because he had some melee here.
Yeah, Kenny Powell definitely getting horizontal in front of his G&G teammate. Just one more nudge from the 7 there that really Joshua didn't do him any favors right here. It was a square hit.
Oh, he came down and he was not clear. I don't know if that was not on Josh there. I think Kenny Powell thought he was clear and was not. Huge melee towards the finish there.
Ooh, you want can look at that there for the leader because I think that was kind of funny. But anyway, it's our job now to run down the lineup, Brian, I think, so we can get out of here.
Well, let's take a look back at this with Brian Johnson because I don't think he had any reason to go down below the yellow line. You can only do that in qualifying. We'll have to see how admins rule on this.
Ooh, he sure did.
He went down below the double yellow, and he didn't have an apparent reason to do that. But we'll have to see how the admins rule on that. Of course, his win officially in iRacing is Brian Johnson. But let's go ahead and do, like you said, do that rundown through the running order here. Brandon Pasalakwa, of course, is going to finish in 2nd place. 3rd place being Mr. Holloman in the 10 machine. 4th place, Josh Daniels. 5th place, Josh Schaffner. 6th place, Greg Wachinski. 7th, Fuge in the 71. Sorry if I'm not saying the whole name out. I don't actually have the full names in front of me. But 8th place, Mark Sanchez. 9th, Kenny Powell. And 10th, Shane Paris. And I'll make sure that I know everybody's name next week, so I do apologize. Just a little bit new people out here, Big Al, but continue.
Darren Mullins is going to be in 11th with Keselowski, Al-Type, 1 each in 12th. Paul Osen in 13th. Corey Saucier in 14th. Alexander Carr in 15th. J.C. Evans 16th. Robert Matthews 17th. Scott Nashland in 18th. Greg Cart 19th. Ryan Strunk 20th. Chris D. Johnson in 21st. Tommy Amos in 22nd. That's Amos. And Abner. No, that's it right there, the 22 car field. And wow, what a race it was, Brian. I think we need to step away one more time, get another word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with our post-race show.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
You gotta get down to Hooters, have a drink, catch the game, get yourself some awesome wings. It's the place to do your thing. You gotta get down to Hooters. Here she comes, a girl next door, hanging with good friends and more. Come on, what you waiting for? You gotta get down to Hooters. So get on up and get on down to Hooters.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. What a race it was here tonight. Of course, congratulations to the top three here. I do believe, let's see, do we have Mr. Blair Holloman? Do we got you here in the booth, Blair?
Hey, you got me.
All right, glad to have you here, man. Congratulations on your third place finish and your first start for the ISCA. What are your thoughts and impressions for this series?
I definitely like the series. These guys race really clean. I know it's just a super speedway race, but coming from racing with a lot of official races where you never know what you're going to get, it's kind of nice to at least be around a group of people that you can trust to run around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. For sure, and this series definitely known for being very clean. I mean, we only had one caution there towards the end. What was some of the keys to your success here tonight? What do you attribute your third place finish to?
Just being lucky there toward the end. Like that last pit stop, I was in that second pack that started to lose the draft and had to pull a quick audible and went for 2 tires instead of 4 and was able to push that. Was the 64 car along for as long as I could until that caution came out, and just that last lap was just luck. Went to the high side when I saw an opening there coming off of 4 and got put almost in the bleachers, but still came away with thirds. I'll take that.
Yeah, 100%. And I know exactly what you mean when you talk. You were with, I do believe, Darren Mullins, and you were kind of pushing him along, and you looked like you were a good pusher. You guys actually were making up a whole lot of distance on that front pack, but kind of lucky that caution did come out because you seemed like y'all ran out of momentum. But definitely awesome job on the third place finish. I know Auto Club is going to be coming up next week. Do we expect to see you there, and how do you feel about that racetrack?
Yeah, I think I'll come out to Auto Club. It's not a bad track. It's one of those ones where I'm not the greatest at saving tires, but it's something I have to learn a little bit better. Pace is there, just again, tire conservation is that big thing.
Yeah, definitely going to be a big thing there at Auto Club. Of course, kind of the sister track for Michigan 2 Mile Racetrack. Sounds like you'd be flat out for most of the way, but definitely have to do some lifting and make sure you don't screech some tires. Well, Blair, we appreciate you talking to us here tonight, and hopefully we get to know you a little bit more as the season goes on. But congratulations on your first start being a third place finish. Who can we give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a quick shout out. My sponsors, Customer Club and Sparkle and Shine Mobile Detail. Also, I got to give quick thanks to my two teammates there, Fuge and Saucer at the end. When I went to the high side, I knew they were coming along, so they were right there with me when the cars came back up the track, and I was still able to mosey it through.
All right, Blair. Well, thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
I'll see you guys.
All righty, that was Blair Holloman in the 10 machine. Finished in third here tonight. Awesome performance there. Started in 13th. Next up, Big Al standing by with Brandon Pasalacqua, our second place finisher.
Hey, Brandon Pasalacqua, this is Big Al up in the booth. You got me.
I got you, Al. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, man. First off, I want to say congratulations to you, sir, for your second place finish here tonight. I understand that was no small feat. Qualifying, though, really decent here. You started in this thing in fourth and you finished in second. So, why don't you talk us through, just what you had to do to get through the two stages and actually to bring this thing home on the podium?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it started with a great qualifying effort. That's actually the first time I've actually started that high for a super speedway race. So I'm usually very relaxed and uh, patient when doing super speedway. So I usually like to tag on to the end of the field. But today I just kind of tried to feel out the energy and flow of the race, and everybody was running extremely clean and giving everybody a lot of space. So I just decided to stay with the pack, and luckily it ended to two great stage finishes and then a great P2 finish.
So you said that you know that the field was the race was clean. I guess I'm going to paraphrase it.
Mhm.
This clean racing, because you guys just went 125 laps and you had one caution outside of the stage break. Does that really make a big difference in how you actually approach and attack the race?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with super speedway racing, right? You get into the official races and you see guys with cars that aren't very stable. So if you feel the energy of the pack, where cars are unstable, moving around a lot, I try to get out of that situation and then save my car for the end. But today, everybody seemed very stable for the most part. Our new tires were slick and wore as we went into the run, but everybody had really great car control. So I decided just to keep running and see what we could do.
And so, this being like the most insane of all tracks where you come into, and this race being so tame, is that something you think will entice you to actually come back repeatedly here to the ISCA?
Absolutely. If ISCA is one of the only leagues I took a hiatus for a little bit just because of some personal things I was attending to, but ISCA is the only league that I make time for when I do run consistently. The reason being is, we all want good, clean, safe, fun racing, but the level of competition here is great on a given day, given night. Anybody can be in the podium spot, so it's good to have that plethora of great drivers.
Well, I tell you what, and you're right up there amongst them, and it was a pleasure actually watching you perform here tonight on the Super Speedway. Next week, we'll get ready to head to Auto Club, which is going to have a little bit of a different layout. What can we expect to see from Mr. Pasquale next weekend?
Yeah, we'll see. It might be the same kind of mindset as I take with super speedways. I'm sure it'll be a little bit of pack racing again next week. So I'm a little bit more aggressive on the 2 mile tracks and the a mile and a half tracks. So I'm sure I'll be more aggressive than I thought I was today. But we'll get the setup loaded and make a lot of adjustments throughout the week.
Awesome. I mean, before we let you go here, who we shouting out here for your second place finish tonight?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors for the league, Butt Kicker and TLC. Obviously, Kenny and everyone at ISCA, and I kind of already talked about why it's so great to run here, and I just hope that people are watching, feel encouraged after watching tonight's race because it was such a heck of a time. I'd like to give a shout out to G&G Racing for letting me ride with them tonight. I really appreciate it, and then of course you guys in the booth. You guys put on great broadcast, so thank you very much.
Yeah, but it takes great racers to give us something to talk about. And before I do let you go officially, though, I always kind of act. I always want to kind of project. So I'm going to ask you this question: Where do
Yes.
you project yourself finishing next week?
Oh no, you're gonna put me on the spot. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. My every week is podium or top 5. Right, that's my goal.
Okay.
But if I can finish within the top 10, that's still a good night for me. So the competition's tough here, so that's not a gimme by any means. It just means a lot of work and a lot of effort. So we'll see.
All right, sir. Appreciate you and what you do, and don't party too hard.
All right, thanks, Al.
Alrighty, that was Brendan Pasalacqua, of course, driver of the 6 machine, finishes in 2nd place after starting in 4th place. Next up is our winner, of course, had a dominant performance earlier, his brother Chris Johnson, but Brian Johnson took the mantle. How you feeling, Brian?
Brian Britt, what's going on, man? Yeah, feeling good. Heck
A
of a
little bit of
race.
a meeting of the Bryans here. Definitely a heck of a race, man. I mean, how are you feeling about it? I mean, you seem like you had a really fast car. You had your teammates behind you. You know, did you almost at what point were you certain you were going to win this thing?
At no time was I certain. I'll be honest with you. I thought I was a sitting duck the whole time I was up front. So even there at the end, I had no idea who was taking what run, what line I was taking. So I just kind of made it up as I went. So, and it just worked out in the end.
Yeah, definitely did for sure. I mean, and you had a lot of, I'd say, hard racing from other drivers there. I mean, Pasalacqua was side by side with you coming across the start. And I did notice, and I was actually curious about this, you went down below the yellow line. What was the reason for that?
I didn't want him to get to my right rear. So if he got to my right rear, it would have pulled me back. So I made sure I kept plenty of distance, jumped to the apron. I thought that was my best shot of coming away with the win. It was close. It was really close. Heck of a race, with Brandon there at the end. But we pulled it off.
Yeah, definitely did for sure. And, definitely probably a lot of chaoticness going on as well. As you see in your rearview mirror, you probably saw a lot of wrecking.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I tried to avoid the entire race. I started in the rear, just chilled out back there, just kind of felt the flow of the race, just let it come to me. At the end of the stages, I would kind of make my way up to the top 10 to get some stage points. But overall, I was staying chill up until the last stage pit stop. So made sure I nailed the pit stops. Our team made an awesome call. We all made great pit stops. We entered together, left together, and we pulled out to a lead, and the rest is history.
Now, was that something that you guys worked on a lot, in practice to try to make sure you had that nailed down? Because I mean, you were the biggest mover, 18th all the way up to first. Do you attribute that to the pit stops you guys practicing?
Yeah, everybody practiced their pit stops, of course, during the race. So that definitely helps going into the race.
Well, definitely seemed like it helped out a lot for sure. Congratulations, man. I mean, I know you're not a stranger to being in victory lane here in the ISCA, but I know it's been a little bit, so how much does this mean to you getting this big win? I mean, especially at the start of the Super Cup season.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. Definitely gives some momentum going into next week. So we'll see what we can do at Auto Club.
100%. I mean, speaking of Auto Club, I mean, is that a track you're comfortable with?
I definitely like it better than super speedway racing. I know it's a 2-mile track, and there's, you still have to deal with the draft, and there is going to be drafting, but you're still going to have to save your stuff and be there at the end. So you definitely have to save tires and have a good car up under you.
100%. Seemed like you had a good car up underneath you tonight, man. Congratulations, Brian, once again. Who can we give a shout out to after this big victory?
Yeah, shout out to the series sponsors, TLC, Butt Kicker. Shout out to Kenny Powell. You guys up in the booth, Big Al, Brian Britt, you guys always put on a good show every week. And Southern Spiral Pipe.
I don't know why people keep saying, Big Al, that we're putting on a good show. Like, these guys are the ones putting on the show, right, Big Al?
Hey, man, I'm doing my part. So
we're just talking. They're putting on the show. We're just talking. Thanks, Brian, though. Congratulations once again, man. And hopefully we get to talk to you a lot more often here. Of course, I get to talk to you personally, but up here in the the interview booth.
I hope so. Thanks, guys.
No problem. That was Brian Johnson, our winner here tonight. What a race, Big Al. I mean, at no point, like Brian Johnson kind of said, I echo that. You didn't really know who was going to be able to win. No one really was confident saying that, hey, I know I'm going to win this race.
And you get that, especially when you come to plate racing. But I'm going to tell you, I want to echo the sentiments of Brandon when he said that this is some of the cleanest racing that you're going to get. Nowhere else would you have been able to actually be able to come out and run full board and just kind of relax and know that you're surrounded by professionals. I mean, that's all I could say. So it kind of makes it easy to call the race just because we're calling a good race.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they almost went 300 miles with no caution. I mean, it was just definitely crazy to see it. And I hope Saturday will also live up to that expectation for sure. I mean, these guys put on a heck of a show. We saw green flag stops, and like you said before, we didn't see that a lot in the opens, in the official opens, I should say. But ISCA is a cut above when it comes to the competition that's out here in the field, and you never know who's going to be able to win, who's going to win week to week, and we're glad to see all these new drivers that have been showing up, and I'm pretty sure you echo that same sentiment, right, Big Al?
Absolutely, man. It goes to show that not only are we good, but we getting better.
100%. Well, we definitely appreciate everybody out there tuning in. Shout out to our sponsors. Thanks to Kenny Powell for all that he does. Thanks to you as well, Big Al, for being my co-host here tonight. And I guess we'll see everybody next time. But before we do that, I do want to tell you, come visit us on Saturday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the race should be going green. A little bit after that, probably more like. But we will be right back here at the Daytona International Speedway. And then make sure you tune in next Thursday if you want to keep up with the Super Cup Series here on the Thursday nights. We will be at Auto Club. So thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time.